We know our customer base, we analyze what's happening within their day-to-day and their support requirements, and we are able to give them the tools to help themselves. And that, I think, it's a huge win. There's a lot of areas in your business that you can absolutely smash with, a bit of help from AI, a bit of help from software development. And then what it allows you to do as an organization is, what I often say to our team, is to humanize the exceptional, which is what we bring as humans to the table, and to automate the repeatable.
Welcome to Growth Unlocked Beyond Scale, your gateway to the deeper dimensions of business and personal growth. This series goes beyond traditional metrics, exploring the philosophies, mindsets, habits, and life lessons from those who've successfully navigated the landscape of entrepreneurship and leadership. Peer into the minds of those who've mastered the art of business innovation, partnerships, and those that are rewriting the rules of revenue. Tap into their actionable advice and practical playbooks that can be used to unlock growth in your own world.
Welcome back to another episode of Growth Unlocked. I'm your host, Kieran Cron. Today we're joined by Priscila Bernardes, the CEO of Lancom Technology, who has gone from customer experience manager to leading a fast-growing tech company in New Zealand. In our conversation, Priscila is going to share her incredible journey of resilience, mentorship, and the strategies that have driven Lancom's impressive growth, all while staying true to its core values. Priscila, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Kieran. It's lovely to see you. And hi, everyone.
Awesome. Let's do it. So, Priscila, your journey from arriving in New Zealand from your home country of Brazil with relatively limited English to now becoming the CEO of Lancom Technology is pretty remarkable. So, firstly, congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you share the inflection points that shaped your trajectory over that time?
Oh, Jesus, where do I even start? I guess when I reflect on that, Kieran, I think that the biggest thing for me is really starting early. And when I say starting early, it's really earlier than most, right? So when I look back in my life and my career, especially my first role, an official role, I was 15 years old, working for a transport company and doing all of their office back admin. So really having that drive from an early and very young age, it has been quite a pivotal point in terms of how I have been able to drive myself in life, and as a result, my career as well. If I kind of backtrack a little bit further behind to 15, I actually was selling lollies at school when I was about 7 to 10. So that entrepreneurial mindset, and I guess way of being, has always been a part of how I am and who I am as an individual. But if I kind of fast forward in terms of coming into New Zealand, not being able to really speak any English, I don't recommend, by the way. Ideally, you learn the language a bit ahead of time. One of the things that, has always been a part of how I lead my life and how I look at things is just having the courage to try. And I remember, on my first year in country, thinking I know I'm a smart person and I would love to have an opportunity to support a business and learn and grow in this new country. And what I literally did was to go try and door knock. So, it was 17 years ago, where you could still literally walk yourself into a reception in a business and have a conversation. And that's literally what I did, looking for an opportunity to find my first job and role here in New Zealand at the time. So having that courage to put yourself out there and try. And I probably got a million no's, and and the resilience to pick yourself back up and carry on, I think, has been quite critical in terms of that trajectory as well. And The last couple of things for me is, you know, it all works if you have someone, or if you have a team or a person that's willing to give you an opportunity, that can see that potential that you may have, even if it's not quite crafted. It's, it has been very, very critical to my own journey in every aspect of my career to date. So, it took probably 100 no's and that one yes to allow me the opportunity to step in and start literally at reception in the tech industry. So, and today, when I kind of think about that first person that was willing to say yes, I don't take that lightly in any way, shape, or form. And my job now is to be that person for somebody else, and to build that legacy behind me. And then finally, it for me, in terms of that trajectory, we all have a talent and we should know what that talent is, but that continuous learning piece is really, really critical. So I have always been mindful in investing into my education. So from all the way back in Brazil, having to work to found my way into university, and then later in New Zealand, heading into the university here, doing a postgrad, working my way into an MBA, crafting that talent, and being really mindful of, irrespective of your title, irrespective of what you are doing, that learning journey never stops. So yeah, I hope that gives you a few answers and points for that trajectory. It's been brilliant. It's been hard at times. The level of resilience had to grow to a max at times. But also it's been fun. And I think, to be given the opportunity to now pay it forward, it's probably one of my most successful accomplishments to date.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. I love that. There's so many great lessons that we can all take away, and I think that piece that you mentioned around continuous learning is something that I have noticed is a pretty common thread throughout a lot of the guests and the conversations that I've had with world class go to market leaders, and yeah, it's just a good reminder that like we never stop learning. Even when we get to the later years of our life, there's always an opportunity to improve. And I mean, just at the rapid pace that the world is moving now with technology, it's even more so than ever, right?
That's right. And I guess, however you're learning, whether that's from your peers, whether that's from a more formal education methodology, or, just chasing your own personal growth, all those things combined form what is a very critical path towards whatever success looks like for you as a leader, or as someone that's on the journey to become one as well.
For sure. Yeah, well said. So, as I mentioned, like Lancome has really grown significantly, and I'm sure you've been a major contributor towards that growth. And part of that has also been through a number of acquisitions.
Mm.
What has been the biggest driver of growth for the company, would you say?
Ooh, the biggest driver. Look, I wouldn't necessarily think it's a single contributor, but um, if I maybe was to break it down a little bit, Kieran, for you, I think there's a few different components that has supported that growth overall. And if I start from, I guess the first key aspect of that contribution, I really, really genuinely think that's our talent first and foremost. So we are absolutely crystal clear and very, very tight with how we look to require to acquire, retain, and grow our talent at Lancom, and having that top talent. What it means is essentially it allows us to deliver something that's meaningful and adds value for our clients at the end of the day. So when we look at talent, we are very mindful of making sure that we leave our biases behind. I'm obviously a very myself proof of that. So one of the things that we adopt in our recruitment process, for example, is to anonymize candidates. We are really genuinely looking for people's ability to demonstrate the talent that they will bring to Lancom and how they can support us in our growth and in our journeys. We are big believers in supporting graduates. In a way, whilst I wasn't a graduate per se, when I started at Lancome, I was fresh into the industry myself. So having a platform where we can support our people grow and in turn, so they will be supporting us grow is genuinely part of our culture. Um, the second part of it is really the way we approach partnerships and how we look at engaging with our clients and the way of which we go about it. We genuinely see ourselves as part of our clients' businesses. And that goes all the way from how we show up in our conversations, how we lead our business development, how we drive our marketing strategies, and how we actually look to bring solutions to the table for those customers. And what we know from business growth, and it's pretty basic principle, is that your customers that are delighted with your business, your brand, uh, they will refer you to other customers that are in similar state that they might be or were when they first met you. So our customers are a great source of our growth. And then finally, our capability when it comes to how we approach technology. We are very early adopters, being a Kiwi organization, being based initially in New Zealand and now expanding into Australia and also the US. One of the opportunities we have is that Kiwi mindset of trying it first, experimenting, and being agile in the way of which we adopt how we deliver our services. So, as an example, Lancome we were playing with cloud computing and cloud technologies when it came to market, right? So we were there leveraging cloud technologies from day one. When we look at AI technologies, which is the latest and greatest now, as soon as it became available in the form of consuming as a service, we are playing with it. We're developing solutions and thinking about use cases that will enhance our customers' quality of life. So overall, I know it's not the one thing. It is really a combination of our talent, our capability, and how we look at our partnerships, I think. And often what business leaders can do is to get really crystal focused on one thing to drive their growth and ignore the fact that we are humans. We have multiple facets to how we operate, and ultimately businesses are serving people at the end of the day. So for me, that almost triangle in terms of talent, people, and capability is partnership, capability, and people is what drives that growth in the middle for us, and that's what I hope to keep enhancing as we go as an organization as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's really insightful, and I think that at the end of the day, unless you have the right people in the right positions that are passionate about what they do, delivering good quality work, and enjoying what they're doing, then it makes everything else just kind of come together, right? So you've got to make sure that you're recruiting the right people, and it sounds like you've got a great process there, and it also, to your point before around the sort of growth strategy, I mean, it sounds like you've built a really awesome flywheel effect where you've got really happy customers that are probably speaking about you, raving about you, going to
That's right.
barbecues and telling their friends about you. And so, like, that only really comes from delivering outcomes and quality results for your customers as well. So, I think that's one thing that a lot of businesses do forget about is the importance of that flywheel effect. And they're often just looking at how do we acquire new customers, how do we basically drive a marketing and sales engine to acquire new customers, right? When there's two other components that are missing there, which is making sure you're actually understanding the satisfaction of your customers. Are they happy? How can you improve on that? And then sort of how do you look at when they are happy, kind of expanding that
That's right.
relationship as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And I guess, one of the things that we've observed as well is when you have reached those outcomes for your customers as a marketing, the opportunity to promote those stories and lead with proof. And this, Kieran, from your marketing background, is behind one business and one problem or a solution, there is hundreds and thousands, right? So we are very, very deliberate about ensuring that we are promoting those stories, those successes that we are delivering for our customers. Um, and given that they have achieved an outcome, we very rarely get a customer not willing to, help us promote those stories together. And what we know is that, success creates success. So if we are promoting our success, we are also promoting our customer successes and their own businesses along the way. So it's a very mutual win. I'll give you a very classic example where the other day we released one of our newsletters and we promoted one of our customers. And in doing that, another customer has contacted me and said, look, I am really, really keen to engage with this other organization that you support and actually purchase their services because they are servicing a need that we have right now in our organization. So it's about a give and get scenario, and to be able to be the conduit for that growth, not only inside Lancom, but for our clients as well, creates that flow and effect for us and that momentum as well.
Really cool. So nice to see how you can actually create, opportunities and collaboration for your customers together. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
ecosystem at its finest, right?
That's right. That's right. And, we've got some grand plans around how do we make that a bit more of a deliberate initiative in terms of how we go about this year as well, and create a forum for our customers to collaborate with each other. They come from very similar industries and very different industries as well. So how do we create a platform for collaboration and growth that goes beyond just Lancom? And I'm sure that in doing that, we'll be able to take a few learnings from that experience and then bring that back into our own business. So it's a very reciprocal circle, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah, so
Yeah.
true. Priscilla, you touched before on being an early adopter to cloud technology and now AI. I would love
Mm.
to hear if you wouldn't mind sharing any of the use cases that you've been exploring. And I know like pretty much every business leader is thinking it's out there, but they're not really sure how to use it or where to use it. And we've been exploring some really interesting use cases, particularly for the sales team,
Yeah.
with using AI agents and AI workflows. But I'd love to hear what you guys have been working on.
Yeah. Look, there's a couple of really interesting use cases that we're currently working on. And I'll start with probably some of more of the everyday use cases that any businesses out there can probably benefit from. A typical one that I see, especially in sales and sales organizations, is the mad rush that happens when you have an RFP that you're invited to respond to, and how you have to quickly assemble a team together and be able to come up with your best content strategy for responding to that particular RFP, right? And what we know in a scenario of an RFP is you're very rarely given the opportunity to present yourself before you actually submit a document that has a series of questions. So that was a genuine problem for us in terms of productivity. Every time we had an RFP come our way, you're almost starting from scratch. So unless you might have been at Lancom for 10, 20 years, like myself, you're digging for that information and borrowing from people's time to be able to come up with our best response. So with that in mind, one of the AI agents that we have built at Lancom is our RFP agent, whereby we were able to collate all of our previous RFP responses into a single location. And now our sales teams, from the most junior person to the most senior person, can leverage that agent to be able to query that particular area of our business and be able to respond to an RFP. And what we have been able to see as an outcome is a reduction of about 50 to 40% of the time spent on the response itself. Now, what that actually means for us is that 40 to 50% that we are gaining back can be used thinking about our strategy. How do we show up? How do we actually leverage our messaging here to be able to cut through the noise of what could be many other providers going through the same response process? So that's one of classic cases that we've created for ourselves, and now we are expanding that through to our customers and making that available for them as well, because it's not just an issue that we've seen in our own organization, and obviously applicable to the sales folk that might be watching us today. Some of the other fun things that we have done, we ran a hackathon with our software developers over Christmas, and they have created an AI-based application that enabled people to choose Christmas gifts for those with disabilities. So Christmas is an amazing time of the year, but what we often can overlook is how potentially complex it can be to gift someone that may have a physical disability or a mental disability. So our AI Christmas gift tool enables people to, with a few easy prompts, add in some questions, and it suggests a few gifts that will make whoever you're gifting feel included in that particular whatever it is that you're giving them as a Christmas present. So a bit of a fun one, but just shows you how possibilities are very unlimited. In the corporate space, we are busy working with a very high-profile organization in New Zealand to build an AI-based financial assistant that will support that business to make decisions when they're looking to invest into new acquisitions. So typically that's a process that takes about 4 or 5 people to work through a merger and an acquisition due diligence. Now, our tool is not going to replace those people. It will support them with some of the analysis that has to happen when you're making a decision on acquiring a business. So those are some of the examples from the most fun and engaging Christmas gift option through to how do we bring productivity into our everyday lives via the RFP tool that I mentioned, and then potentially something a little bit more complex that can service your organization. When people ask me about AI, and to borrow a quote from someone a lot smarter than me, Satya Nadella from Microsoft, the thing to keep in mind is that AI is as it is today at the worst it will ever be. So, it will only continue evolving. It is a technology that's definitely here to stay. And if you're struggling with creativity and thinking about how you can apply it to your organization, there is a lot of options out there for even, getting that kickstart in terms of options that are low cost but high value in terms of the outcome as well.
Excellent advice. Yeah, it's really cool to hear how you've got such a range there from, like you said, the nice stuff, which is like really kind of thinking thoughtfully about how you can help people from like a personal perspective all the way up to like solving some major issues for large enterprises. So it just shows how like there is just, millions of different use cases for AI, and there's
There
new ones that are
is.
coming up all the time. So
Yeah.
I love that. It sounds like you guys are definitely innovating and working really to think about like solving major problems in different parts of the world. And I think the use case you mentioned there around using AI to be able to respond to RFPs and cut time by 40 to 50% is massive. But I think like behind that, the underlying sort of takeaway there is there's a big opportunity for companies to really document and archive all of their IP, all of their knowledge in a single repository. And that in itself, once you've got that documented, that can be leveraged in so many different ways. And I just even think there is an opportunity to say one of the challenging parts for any business, like you were saying, is hiring the right people, but then enabling them, onboarding them. And I think it does take a long time. Like I remember when I was a sales manager at HubSpot, like ramping new people up, particularly if they maybe haven't been in tech or SaaS before, if they're coming from quite a
You're
different
looking at a 6 months
background.
journey potentially,
Oh,
aren't you?
even
Yeah.
even more. I think really
Yeah.
sometimes these reps would only really start hitting their strides until I used to think it was 12 months, but probably like 18 to 24 months before they were really competent, right, in their roles. And I think there's a huge opportunity to leverage AI and technology to help like shorten down that ramp time because there's so much information that already exists in these companies from top performers, from leaders. It's all there, right? A lot of it's in their head,
Yeah.
the heads of these people.
That's right. And especially if you're in a business where you may have principal led sales, which for us, that's our history in terms of Lancom's business. And so it makes it really hard for someone coming in to try and find their fit into the organization. And now all of the sudden, even your most junior reps can get themselves up to speed and collaborate and provide input early on, but also, you know, then marketing can have access to that collateral and be able to turn that into content that attracts new prospects into your organization or that nurture those that are already part of your flywheel, right? So there's a million of possibilities that can come from simply just have that information available and being able to query it in the first place. So I'm sure that there will be a lot more that we get to do with that as we go over the next couple of months as well.
Absolutely. Some of the use cases that we're exploring right now for our customers, the first thing is, taking all of the unstructured data from meetings, whether they're sales meetings or customer success meetings, and looking at what are the common themes and patterns that are coming up regularly, right? And actually ranking those based off those that are coming up most often. And then thinking, okay, well, if this is a common theme, then either we need to create collateral, which can be used for marketing to help educate buyers, or secondly, it can be used for sales enablement to actually train and help the salespeople to understand how to sort of manage those
Manage
conversations when
those
they come up
conversations.
and bring
Yeah.
them up more proactively.
Yeah, exactly. We do that a lot from a support point of view, being a tech support company as well ourselves and having that division. How do we enable our engineers on the help desk to be able to understand the most common pieces of questions that we are getting from our clients? And then in turn, how do we create content that prevents that customer to have to come to us with a problem, right? So we then analyze that data, and off the back of that, we are able to create videos and contents that are all about self-service, because what we know in our industry is 9 times out of 10, if you didn't need to talk to your tech provider, you wouldn't, right? Because if you're able to solve your own problems, that's what success looks like. So our metric of success when it comes to our help desk services, it's not how many support tickets we have answered. It's how many support tickets we have prevented, because we know our customer base, we analyze what's happening within their day-to-day and their support requirements, and we are able to give them the tools to help themselves. And that, I think, it's a huge win. So there's a lot of areas in your business that you can absolutely smash with, a bit of help from AI, a bit of help from software development. And then what it allows you to do as an organization is, what I often say to our team is to humanize the exceptional, which is what we bring as humans to the table, and to automate the repeatable, right? So that's a goal for us when it comes to Lancom technology. We have amazing talent. What we want to do is to humanize that and make that even more exceptional for our clients, for our partners. The repeatable, if we can automate that to improve the quality of life of the people that are working with us, but also the people that work for us and alongside us, I think that's where the game is at.
And by doing that, by automating and taking these mundane tasks away from people, not only is it helping with efficiency and productivity and profitability, but I think that the net benefit of that is happier staff, right? Because it frees them up to focus on things that they really enjoy, that are more strategic, that give
Yes,
them real satisfaction, right?
that's right. I mean, nobody wants to come to work and do the same thing every day. There's a place for that, but that's becoming less and less of a theme. A lot of us are really in about, it's all about the purpose. It's about what do I bring to the table and how do I make a difference and contribute to something that's moving towards a direction that aligns with my values. So yeah, watch this space. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an exciting time.
Yes.
Priscilla, if you could go back to have a conversation with your 21-year-old self, what
Yes.
advice would you be giving yourself at that point in your life?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, the first one for me, when I think about the context of my personal life, coming from Brazil, establishing myself in a country where I had absolutely no family, no one that I knew or had a connection with, is keep being your authentic self. And um, that's something that I observe working with younger people myself. We work with a lot of graduates often. There is a real lack of clarity out there of, what am I? What do I stand for? And what are my core values as an individual? And um, as a 21-year-old trying to, start a new career and start a new industry and coming into a new country, it oftentimes I found myself trying to blend in, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in doing so, trying to be someone that I perhaps wasn't, and just to fit in, quote unquote. And so, if I could go back and give that advice, that would be probably one of the first ones. And be proud of who you are as a human being, your background, your culture, how that can be a leverage in the workspace, in your relationships and your friendships, and in society in general. um, and I guess the other one is really that, focusing on lifelong learning. It is staying curious, but not just focusing on the here and now. There is more to it than today. I think the 21 years old version of me, I move very fast as a human being, but perhaps I was moving way, 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 way faster than I could have. And the last one, I think, is, yeah, when you're a go-getter, or when you're used to chasing the next thing and thinking about, okay, where do I go from here? How do I learn? How do I keep going? You can often forget to celebrate your wins and um, give yourself a pat on the back sometimes, and kind of take a step back and go, hang on a minute, I might have achieved something here. Or find someone, an accountability partner that can help you see the wins as well, because sometimes it's just how it is. You just don't see it. You kind of move on to the next thing, or life comes in the way, and something else pops up. So that ability to celebrate your wins, and just take 5 minutes to reflect, it's a huge opportunity to, one, learn, to grow, but also feel proud of what you are achieving as an individual, as a team, or in whatever context that you are looking at. So I think that's probably the most important one. If I had to look back, and if I got 2 seconds, I would probably just go with celebrate your wins. Just take that time. That's quite critical. Or find a network that can help you do that as well.
Yeah, it really is so important, and I'm guilty of this as well. And I
I
think
was
you
gonna
often
ask you,
find this
yeah.
with people that have been high achievers or that have high
Mm,
expectations of themselves, is always setting that bar higher and
way
higher.
too high sometimes, yeah.
And then sometimes, just as you mentioned before, like focusing on the things that you're not doing well and not spending
Correct.
the time looking back and going, you know what, wow, like there's all this amazing stuff that I've
Mm.
achieved, that I actually never even thought was even possible. But
Yes,
that
that's
kind of
right.
becomes the new norm, though. But you do
Yeah.
need to spend that time to slow down, stop, reflect, look
Yeah.
back. I think even writing and journaling, putting those
Yeah,
things
I was
down is really
actually
helpful.
going to touch on that. And, that's been one of the learnings I had to adopt in my life, is to keep a journal, and whether that's a daily one. And I'm not going to sit here and lie that I don't get the time sometimes to do it on a daily basis, but um I've allocated a time in my weekly routine where I sit down on a Sunday morning, usually 7, 8 a.m., whatever that time is of the day, and there is no one. I'm sitting there with my cup of coffee, and that's a really good time to reflect and really look back into the week that has just been, and think about what has gone well. And if you are a high achiever, your brain immediately wants to go to the pieces that may have not gone so well, right? So having that approach and forcing yourself to start with the wins allows you to in my experience, to take that, even if it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, to celebrate, because often things can get quite challenging, right? And so that's part of it, and that's part of life. But I think it's important to find a way of creating those moments for yourself, to be able to take a step back. And if it doesn't come naturally, which is not, in my case, it really doesn't, it has to start with a bit of a forced approach, so you can kind of get that going.
Excellent advice. So much wisdom there. Thank you. Priscilla, I really appreciate your time. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. If people want to learn more about you or Lancom, like how, what's the best way for them to do that?
Look, hit me up on LinkedIn. I think that's probably the best channel. I'm very visible and vocal there. So get in touch. Would love to connect with anyone and, share ideas, explore your own learnings as well. I'm sure there is abundance of thought in the community. So just let's get in touch.
Awesome. Priscilla, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kieran.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Growth Unlocked Beyond Scale. If you enjoyed the show, it would really be appreciated if you can leave a 5-star review wherever you consume your podcasts. And while you're there, why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes? If you'd like to learn about how to drive profitable scale in your business, gain clarity on your direction, and improve your business valuation, click the link in the show notes to connect with Kieran.